Hello. Let me turn the music down just a little bit and we'll get this party started. Hope everybody is enjoying their holidays. Just want to have a quick conversation with you all on today and kind of see where your mindset is at. So, as you come on in the room, you all know what to do. Feel free to jump in that comment section. I just want to quickly do a financial literacy check-in with everyone, see how you all are doing, what's on your mind as we are coming into the end of November and we're getting ready to dive into December. So 2025 is almost completed. And of course, here on Coach Steele's Finance Training, we talk about all things financial literacy. I am your host, Coach Steele. Happy to have everyone in the room. And let's see what we have here. Make sure I have everything online. Make sure that you all can hear me loud and clear. So as you come in the room, make sure you leave a comment as well. So we're getting close towards the end of 2025. How many of you all, as you've been tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training, how many of you are on track with accomplishing your goals, getting things done? You feel like you're in a positive place financially? How many of you all feel like you've made great strides? You feel like you're on the right track? As y'all are tuning in, make sure you leave your comments in the comment section, whether you are on YouTube or whether you are on Facebook. And I did decide to go live on TikTok as well. But regardless, no matter what platform you're on, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Coach Steele's Finance Training. So I do want to hear your comments and I want to hear your thoughts as we do this financial literacy check-in. There's some other things I'm going to go over as well this evening before I dive into my main topic about holiday spending and things like that, and just having the right mindset going into the holidays with your finances. And one thing I want you all to be aware of, especially those that tune in to Coach Steele's Finance Training, all of my real estate investors or those that are interested in jumping in that real estate space, or it may be someone who's just looking to eventually buy a house and you're trying to figure out how to time this thing. You know, as it comes to real estate investing, many times, or whether it's buying a house, you will hear real estate agents and other people in that space give you the same advice that they give you when it comes to the stock market. So when it comes to should I buy a house, should I invest and buy a rental property, it's the same concept when it comes to the stock market when they say try not to time the market. Don't time the market, dollar cost average, DCA into the market. Same thing when it comes to real estate investing, or whether or not you're trying to figure out when to buy a home, because we want to look at what are the interest rates? Are the interest rates going to be lowered? Are the interest rates high? Some people come up with different phrases and they may say something like, don't, marry the house, but date the rate, the interest rate. So that's something to think about. For me personally, those concepts and mentality, the way that I dive into the real estate space, I don't have to worry about what I marry or what I date. So let's see what someone has. There's a comment in here that says on YouTube, it says, why is it very profitable to sell old crypto wallets through the CD4K project? Why is it very profitable? When it comes to that crypto space, I can be honest with you. Thank you for tuning in. I believe it's Giselle K9N. Thank you for tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training and commenting. I'm not sure why it is profitable. It's not something that I've looked up or looked into when it comes to selling the old crypto wallets. The only time it's going to be profitable to sell something in crypto, if it comes to me, it goes back to the basic concepts. Anytime we invest, ladies and gentlemen, we're buying low and then we're selling high. So anytime I can make more off of based on what I bought in at, then it's going to be profitable. So that's the only thing I can conclude is clearly somebody's going to make a profit, and that's why it's profitable to do it. And so that's just something to think about. I'll do some research on that, and I'll get back to you. Probably leave a comment under your comment after I do some more research on that. But definitely good question. And when it comes to crypto, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about today, because when it comes to that crypto space, my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, one thing I've noticed is Bitcoin and Ethereum and a few of the other cryptocurrencies, they're on their way back up. I'm so sad. And I know some of you who are investing are probably happy about that, but I'm kind of sad about it, because I was looking forward to crypto taking a little bit more of a dip, and I wanted to jump in and buy. And I'm going to share my screen. And as y'all are tuning in to Coach Steele's finance training today, if it's possible to share the live, feel free to share that live, so that other people can see. So what you're looking at right now is Bitcoin. And when we look at this Bitcoin chart, we see Bitcoin right now is at $90,277.27. And so we saw that it took a dip a couple days ago. And when we look, that dip went very, very low. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get over to the past 5 days. There we go. So we look at the past 5 days. We see it went down to about close to 80,000. And so I was excited about it, because I know a lot of the other crypto follow that trend. And so I wanted it to keep dropping, because I knew the other currency cryptos would drop as well, especially Ethereum. But when we look at Bitcoin here, we do see it's kind of sneaking its way back up from that 81,000, 82,000 range where it was. And now it's creeping back up to about 90,000. So that breaks my heart, only because what I was looking at was, let's see here. We can go to Ethereum. This is what I was looking at here. I was looking at Ethereum, and we'll go the past 5 days, ladies and gentlemen. And so in the past 5 days, I saw Ethereum eventually drop all the way down to around about $2,700. I was really hoping that, and it was a big hope, that it would drop back down to maybe about about 2,000 a share, hopefully 2,100 a share, because I wanted to jump in so low at that point where I knew it would bounce back and potentially double my profits. So we see crypto is now having a nice little bounce back. And so it went from about down as low as around 2,700 to about 3,000. So that's something to keep your eye on as well. Hopefully, once again, Ethereum does drop back down again. I want to buy some Ethereum. But in the meantime, what I do when it comes to cryptocurrency is I keep it pretty simple, ladies and gentlemen. I just have certain crypto like Ethereum that I DCA, dollar cost average, and just buy, fractional shares here and there. Next year, I'm going to look at focusing on more Bitcoin, but I'm going to do that strategic. And of course, if you're subscribed, I will share with you how I'm going to do that. My goal is to buy Bitcoin without having to use my own money. So that's a little hint right there. So as you all are tuning in and we're doing this financial check-in on today, feel free to comment, feel free to ask some questions, or just have a conversation about financial literacy. That's what Coach Steele's finance training is for. I do spend a lot of time talking about budgeting, the basics and the backbone of financial literacy. But this is a community here at Coach Steele's Finance Training, whether you're on my TikTok or whether you're on the YouTube channel, Coach Steele's Finance Training, or on Facebook, you can come be a part of this family, and we can grow and improve our level of financial literacy, our knowledge. And so we can expand. And many times when I go live, like tonight's Wednesday, usually I don't go live on Wednesdays. I'm usually live 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone on Saturday. And I'll still go live on Saturday, even though I did this pop-up. So I'm interested in your thoughts, and I want to hear what you have to say when it comes to financial literacy and the different subjects you like to talk about. You may be like Giselle and like talking about cryptocurrency. Maybe someone else, and you may want to talk about gold or real estate or whatever the case may be. I love talking about, dividend stocks and dividend stock portfolios and things like that. So let's dive a little bit deeper, since Giselle's hit one of my subjects already today when it comes to that crypto and seeing how cryptocurrency is bouncing back. I'm sure the crypto community is happy about it. Once again, I hope it takes another little dip so that I can dive in there and just make some quick profits. And it brings me to my next subject. And I'll tell you why I was so focused on what the market was doing. One of the things President Trump was talking about is not being happy with the Federal Reserve and who's in that vocal leadership position right now, which is Jerome Powell. So when we look at that, President Trump wants Jerome Powell out of the way. He's not happy with them. He's not happy with how they've been cutting the rates. President Trump wants the rates cut a little bit more. And so, what I'm talking about here on Coach Steele's finance training is being able to look from a distance and see what's happening up here in politics to be able to help you determine what to do when it comes to your finances. Being strategic from a distance, being able to plan short term goals and long term goals. When you're planning and being strategic, it helps you not have to be desperate. I'm not desperate for Ethereum, but just like I mentioned, I'm hoping it went down to 2,000 a share, because if it went down, if Ethereum, the value becomes $2,000 a share, and I buy some, that's a amount that I feel comfortable with buying it at. I don't have to rush. Do I have some Ethereum already? Yes, I have some Ethereum already, but I knew I could make a decent amount of profit in my mind, in my heart. 2,000. I'm sure it bounced back, go back up to 4,000. That's kind of the pattern, the range that it goes in. Hits the twos, jumps back up to about 4, and it's been doing that recently for the past year or so, repeatedly. So anyway, you don't have to be desperate in this market. So you want to examine things from a distance. And whatever I tell you on today, make sure you do your own homework, do your own research. That way you can take your time and make the best strategic move for you, not based off of what Coach Steele is saying, right? So in that comment section, in that, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on TikTok, in that comment section, I want you to type in research. Just type in research, because I want you all to get into the practice of doing your own research. Like Giselle brought up a point, and I'm going to do some research, but I want Giselle to do some research as well. And so let's go a little bit further here. Now, President Trump wants Jerome Powell out of the way. Why? Because President Trump believes he can put, which he will, his own person in that Federal Reserve chair seat. And once he puts his person in that seat, guess what? That person, 9 times out of 10, because President Trump puts them there, they are going to lower the rates and do what Trump wants them to do. It only makes sense. And so when he does that, you can understand the timing of that and how people are going to move and shift in that real estate space. Well, when will Trump do that? That's a good question. So I'm sure many of you are wondering, well, when is that going to happen? Because based on when that happens, it's going to dictate and determine when these rates drop. Some people are seeing that the interest rates have already taken a drop because last time the Federal Reserve met, they lowered the interest rates. People get excited about that. Why? Because maybe they had to buy a house at a higher rate and now they can refinance in their mind. That's what they're thinking. I'm not saying that's the best option to do right now. And that's where I'm going somewhere with this. And so they're trying to time, should I refinance my house now? Should I buy a house now that the rates have been lowered? And so when you look at what's going on in politics and you follow the money trail and who's being put into power, it will help you also determine what decisions to make. Many people that invest in the stock market and real estate and other places, depending on who the president is or depending who has control or power and what initiative is going to be pushed, it helps dictate and determine where people will put their money. And wealthy people have been doing this for years by watching who is in control and who's pushing certain agendas and initiatives. So if you didn't know, Jerome Powell, his term in the Federal Reserve, his position will expire in May 2026. So in May 2026, he will leave from that position and President Trump will put his person in that place. And so it'll be interesting to see who he puts in that place. And I believe that that person is going to lower the rates. When the rates are lower, I believe more people will begin to build, more people will begin to buy into real estate, and definitely more homeowners who had to buy houses in the past year or so are going to refinance. What does this all mean? That means the banks are going to make a lot of money, especially on those refinances, because when you refinance a house, there are closing costs that come along with it, ladies and gentlemen. And so the banks are going to make tons of money. As y'all are tuning in to Coach Steele's finance training on today, if you're just tapping in, I want to hear your thoughts and your comments about the things I'm talking about on today with this cryptocurrency bounce back, with President Trump preparing for Jerome Powell's expiration with the Federal Reserve and him placing his person in there so that he can get the rates lowered. I want to hear what your thoughts are as we're doing this financial literacy check-in on today. And so when we look at everything that is going on, it's going to be interesting on how the lower rates also affect inflation and the cost of houses, because some people are also looking at, well, I want to buy a house, but this looks expensive. These homes are too expensive. Well, if rates are lowered and you can borrow money cheaper and there's more money potentially going to be printed, that could potentially cause inflation. And so if we're dealing with inflation, maybe the cost of homes go up. That's one issue. The other issue is, and I will say this, recently I've seen in certain areas, the cost of houses are dipping. It used to be a seller's market, and it's slowly trying to shift to being a buyer's market, but it's not quite there yet because there's still a shortage of homes. And that's where I'm going with this. So you got inflation happening and you have a shortage of product. And so where am I going with this? I'm talking about supply and demand. In that comment section, I want you to type supply and demand, because there's some basic principles when we're talking about financial literacy on today. It's some basic principles when it comes to supply and demand. And so what am I saying? If there is a shortage of supply, but there's a high demand, then that product, those services, the cost of them are going to be more because there's a high demand, but it's not that many. And so now that means the cost of houses may not take a huge dip because there's still a shortage of supply in the marketplace. And so until that changes, we really won't see a dip. And that also can affect the rental, if you're renting a place out as well. Now, we've seen over the past few years that rent has been going up like crazy. Ever since the pandemic, from 2020 on up, rent has been going up astronomically. As we're doing our financial literacy check-in, I see my cousin tuning in over there on TikTok. What's up, cuzzo? Happy to have you tuning in to Coach Steele's finance training. And so what I'm talking about here is I don't think we're going to see these big bumps in rent anymore. So my opinion, one, the value of the houses and how much homes are cost is slowing down. And people who are selling are having to shave off a couple thousand to get the house sold, which means if the houses sell at a lower price, then property taxes are not going to keep shooting up like crazy. Anytime the city and the county shoot up property taxes, landlords increase rent because it's messing with their profit margin. It's messing with their ability to maintain their company and be profitable every month and for the year because they're sending so much money in the city and the county for property taxes. So it's just something I want you all to think about. Some people get upset with landlords because they say they're raising the rent again. They raise it by 200, they raise it by 300, whatever the case may be, depending on what area you're in. And sometimes it's not landlords being greedy. It's what happened to them that caused a domino effect, a chain reaction to now the tenant is having to carry the brunt of the load. So just want you all to think about that. That's why sometimes the rent is increased. And then you do have some landlords, they may have the house paid off, they're doing well, but when it comes to what we call comps in the area, the comparables, other people have raised their rent, so they raise their rent too, because they're thinking as a landlord, what if the plumbing needs work? What if the AC unit needs help? They're trying to get as much profit as they can before they have to replace the floor, before they have to replace the roof, whatever it is. And so it's not necessarily everyone wanting to be greedy. They have to prepare for worst case scenarios. And they got into the business to make a profit, just like you go to work to get a paycheck. So landlords, and homeowners want to make a profit. They don't want to take a loss. So let's go a little bit further. We know that Jerome Powell is moving May 2026. President Trump puts his person in. The interest rates are going to drop. I believe when the rates drop, more people will refinance, more people will start trying to buy homes, and maybe real estate investors are going to dive back into the stock market, not the stock market. They're going to dive back into the real estate market because it's going to be easier to be profitable in a house. So those are some of the things that I want you all to think about. And good evening to my lovely wife, Yvette Steele. Happy to have you tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training as well. You all make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel as you are tuning in, whether you're tuning in on TikTok, Facebook, or YouTube. I still want you to go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Now, let's get to some other good stuff here. And I'm getting ready to come to a close. We're at close to 21-minute mark. And I only wanted to go for about 30 minutes. Now, when it comes to the holiday season, this is one of the last things I wanted to talk to you all about, because I want you all to build up your strength. I want you all to build up your no strength. What do I mean by that? I made a post on Facebook today, and I can't remember exactly what I said, but in so many words, I told everybody it is okay to say no. In that comment section, just type no on YouTube, Facebook. Just want you to type some no's in. And I know some of you all are cooking. Some of you are probably driving, getting ready to go out of town or already out of town. But just take a few seconds and fill up that comment section. I want to hear what you all have to say about this holiday spending. How are we going to spend in the holiday? Some people are traveling. Some people are having to put more gas in the vehicle. Some people, now you got to get an extra oil change earlier than expected. There's so many different things going on that's going to cause you to spend more money. Some of you are getting ready to host a bunch of people at your house. So guess what? You got to go get those groceries. You have to go get those groceries as well. And so you're going to go back and forth to the store, plus that's gas as well. You got people coming in your house, so those units are going to be running, whether it's AC or the heat. You know, this weather is kind of crazy, so you never know which way it'll go. And then also, that's going to affect the electric bill, right? So now your electric bill is going up. When it comes to the holiday season, you'll be surprised how many different angles, expenses, and consumer debt will attack you if you don't pay attention and set a budget and put things in place for this holiday season. I really want to help someone on today with your budget when it comes to preparing for the holiday spending. And I'm just talking about Thanksgiving right now, you know, the holidays tomorrow, but you have the Christmas holidays and everything going on in December as well. Some people are catching flights. Some people are getting hotel rooms. The list goes on and on. And so you want to make sure that as you are sitting down at the dinner table, many people want to make sure that they bring their fair share to the table. And so even though they may not have, they may make certain sacrifices to make sure that it looks like they're carrying their load as well. During this season, when it comes to holiday spending, I want you all to develop a different mindset, a very humble mindset, a mindset that where I want you all to begin to think about all your goals, everything that it is that you're trying to accomplish in this season. Why? Because I don't want you to fall short because of peer pressure or status quo bias or learned helplessness, all of these different psychological things that you deal with where you feel like I have to do this because if I don't, other people will see me a certain way. Or you feel like you have to do something because it's been tradition. It's been programmed in your mind for so long, you feel like you're doing wrong when you're actually thinking about doing right. I want y'all to catch that. What I'm telling you is sometimes people feel like they're about to make the wrong decision because tradition, they're about to go against traditional beliefs, what tradition says you should do during this time. And because it deals with tradition and being programmed like Pavlov's dogs, when it comes to the psychological effect of when it comes to the holidays of how family and society says you should move, the moment you think about deciding to move different, you feel like you're in the wrong or you're going to let someone down. Well, if your budget allots for you to move a certain way, then by all means do it. But if you're going to make a financial decision in this season that is going to affect you on the back end, and I'm going to deal with some of the logic that we have when we think about how we'll make up for it or how we'll make sure it works out, or the math will math out later on because we got taxes coming. And so now we bank on income taxes solving all the problems, and we forget about the other issues that may happen along the way. So we have to get out of those traditional and repetitious habits that have put us in a hole and put us in a bad place. And I've talked to you all about this before, and I'm not trying to beat up anybody or judge anybody for their financial tendencies, habits, disciplines, practices. But many people, it's sad when they have to take a credit card, and hear me out on this, when they have to go to the store and they have to use a credit card to buy groceries because they don't have the money for it. Some people take a credit card and buy their groceries with that card, but they do have the money in the bank. And so they can always pay that credit card off. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying those that don't have any money at all, they have to use a credit card, swipe that card in order to buy themselves some food, the basic four necessities: food, lights, food utilities, water, and shelter, transportation. There we go. I combined water and food together. Now, when they have to go to the grocery store and do that, the bad part about it is the next month, when they still don't have the money to pay off that credit card deal, they are now paying interest for the case of water they bought. They're now still paying interest on the loaf of bread that they bought. They bought bread. I don't know. I forget how much bread is nowadays. They bought bread for $2 or $3, or a case of water for $2 or $5. And now they're paying more interest to where they paid for the case of water and the loaf of bread 2 times because of the interest that they're being charged. And so we're paying for a grocery bill in November that some people will still be paying that grocery bill in 2026, and the interest that came along with that grocery bill. And so the good thing about it is there's many churches and organizations during the season that are giving out food to those that need it. Do not let your pride get in the way. If you need some extra help and assistance when it comes to food, reach out to those organizations or churches and take what they are providing during this season. So anyway, like I said, it's sad when you have to pay interest on those. I mean, do what you have to do to take care of your family, live, survive, and have something to eat, right? But at all costs, if you don't have to, try not to pay for that grocery bill 3 and 4 times based on the interest that you'll have to pay. Some people are strategic with credit cards, and they'll swipe the card, get the points, pay the card off before the credit card company has a chance to charge them interest on the balance. That's using the bank's tool to your advantage. So that's different. So that's something I want you all to think about. Do not let holiday spending and holiday traditions put you in such a bind and a hold, and you start thinking about what may fix it or cover it down the road. That's not a good way to be strategic when it comes to your finances, because based on things that can happen from now to the point that you file your taxes in 2026, whether it's tires or the car or AC, plumbing, you name it, other things can happen along the way that might end up eating up that money you had planned to use to recover from the overspending that you did in November and December. Now, for all of my multimillionaires and those that have tons of cash flow at the end of every month, understand I'm not talking about you, because you have the money and the expenses to do that. What I am doing is talking to people who I want to convince not to put themselves in a financial bind and in a financial hole and hope that someone can dig them out. That's what I'm talking about. I want you to have that discipline and the ability to say no in this season, not only to others, but be confident with having to tell yourself, no, not right now. You know, one thing that's interesting, Stanford, long time ago, and you all can look this up, do your research. Stanford did an experiment. It's called the marshmallow experiment. Stanford did this experiment. And when they did this experiment, they did it with little kids. They were like kindergarten, elementary school age. Maybe they were like 4, 5, 6 years old. And so They gave all the children a marshmallow, and the kids were excited. They enjoyed the marshmallow. This is the Stanford marshmallow experiment, if you ever want to look this up for yourself. And there's a video on YouTube about it as well. And it's pretty interesting. And they told the children, don't eat this marshmallow. I'll be right back. And the kids were excited. They knew they had this sweet marshmallow they wanted to eat badly. And the adult told them, don't eat it. I'll be right back. And if you don't eat this marshmallow immediately, if you can save it, not bite it, when I come back, I'll give you another one. And so what that's called is delayed gratification. In that comment section, just type delayed gratification. And what's interesting about those children, those little kids, as they looked at each other in the room and they were looking at how each other would react, and they were trying to decide, should I eat it? Some of the kids, they would see another kid getting ready to eat it, and they would say, no, don't do it. No, don't do it. Just wait. If you wait, you'll get two. You'll have even more just by delaying your gratification. You can have more if you're patient. That's good right there. And when we talk about this marshmallow experiment from Stanford, because some of us, we don't know how to have delayed gratification. We want it now. We want it right in this moment. And if we can't have it in this moment, then we'll throw a temper tantrum. We'll feel like we let ourselves down. We'll feel like we let our kids down. I don't want my kids to have a holiday where they don't get to do A, B, C, D. And so we make rules. We make up rules and we put chains on ourselves and on our mind because we feel like it has to be a certain way or we have failed. And you have to understand you didn't fail. You made an adjustment so that you can have more later. You made an adjustment so that you can maintain yourself later. You made an adjustment so that you can be better off later on. Some people who have not mastered delayed gratification have put themselves in such a hole that they're trying to figure out, how do I climb out of this thing? And that's why I'm so passionate about financial literacy and doing financial literacy check-ins. That's why I'm passionate about Coach Steele's finance training and sharing this knowledge, opening up a platform and a community for us to talk about financial literacy together, no matter what subject it is. I'm not an expert on all things financial literacy. And I see you all commenting, Yvette saying delayed gratification. Cynthia Phillips is saying delayed gratification. When we do delayed gratification, ladies and gentlemen, we can have more later, just like the marshmallow experiment. I am trying to tell you, I was talking to a young adult the other day, and I love mentoring these young men. Some of them I've coached and worked with when they were in elementary school, middle school, high school. Many of them now have their own families, wife, kids. Some of them going in the military, have jobs. They're making money now. And I've always talked to them about financial literacy over the years. And I was talking to one of them on Sunday evening, and I was telling him how people who try to make fast money, quick money, it's the long way to becoming wealthy. If you try to make fast money, quick flips, it takes forever to become wealthy by doing that. It's almost mission impossible because the quick, short, fast, it dwindles quickly. But if you take your time, if you're meticulous, if you're diligent, if you're methodical, if you're strategic with taking your time to make money, it is the quickest way to become wealthy. I know it sounds backwards, right? If you take your time, you'll become wealthy fast. If you rush to make money, if you try to do things quick or deceitful or sneaky or not above the law or whatever the term is, not lawful, then it's going to take forever to become wealthy. Those things will dwindle. They'll disappear. They'll go away. But if you're patient and meticulous, there's something called compound interest. There's something when you start learning how to acquire assets slowly and strategically, it opens up other doors in the financial space for you to have success. I'll say it again. When you start being meticulous and strategic about being patient as you acquire assets, and it doesn't matter what asset class you dive into. I don't care if it's real estate, if it's dollar cost averaging into your Roth IRA, that's an individual retirement account, or your 401k, if it's dividend stocks, if it's gold, silver, investing in businesses, as you are meticulous with investing in those different asset classes. There's tons of asset classes to invest in. Other financial doors and opportunities open up for you. Y'all know I love talking about real estate, right? So I'm going to stay right there with real estate as an example. You buy one real estate investment house. You might only make $300 a month. Now you're making $300 a month. The tenant is paying you the rent, which is allowing you to make a mortgage payment, which is bringing the balance at which you purchased that property. If you didn't buy it in cash, it's bringing the balance on that property down slowly over a period of time. Meanwhile, while inflation is increasing the value of that house, it's appreciating in value. There's a gap that's opening up for you. Can y'all see that gap right there? It's a beautiful gap. It's called equity. It's called things that you can leverage. There's a gap that opens up for you because you took your time and you were meticulous investing in an asset that now a tenant is going to pay down the balance for you while you enjoy the profits before you turn 59 and a half. So now you're making monthly income. Some people may call it passive income. Some people may not. Regardless, income is income. You've created another stream for yourself, and it allows you the opportunity to duplicate the process without having to use your own money. Because as the tenant is paying the balance down through the rent you receive, and appreciation is happening through inflation and the upkeep of the property, the comps in the area improving, somebody builds a store or something in the area, who knows? Now the property is worth more, and you have access to that equity in that property. You can leverage that equity. You can use some of those bricks and pull out the cash. From bricks to cash, it's in your hand. Guess what? It's not a taxable event. Because it's seen as a loan, it's not a taxable event. So you got $50,000 in a house, $100,000 worth of equity in a house. You can pull that out potentially. You can put that in your pocket and do nothing with it. It's non-taxable income. Now you just made as much as somebody's taken a whole year to work to get. The tenant, based on how you do the math in that scenario, if it makes sense to pull that amount out, ladies and gentlemen, then now you have that amount of money, and that tenant is going to pay that back down again. The rent may have increased at this time, so it may make sense to pull the equity out. It may not make sense, depending on the size of the amount because of the financing. But regardless, if it makes sense, you pull the equity out and you can go now duplicate the process and find another property. So now you have passive income coming in from 2 properties or a duplex or a fourplex or whatever you took that cash and bought. Now, let's go a little bit further. When you're taking your time to acquire these assets, other doors of opportunities in the financial world open up for you. Not only do you have access to equity, but now you have a tax shelter. There's certain write-offs when it comes to this asset that you acquired, where you can have write-offs that you can potentially write off against your 9-to-5 income. So now you might be able to pay less in taxes because you took your time to be strategic and meticulous about slowly acquiring assets to work to your benefit. What I'm telling you is that it's easier to grow wealth when you take your time and start acquiring assets, no matter what asset class it is. That's how you can grow wealth faster, by going slower in the beginning and not rushing to do stuff. Not gambling and risking your money and losing it all and trying to figure out. It's too much. You can be meticulous and strategic. Now, of course, there's other ways to make money when it comes to that real estate space. I can't sit here and take all day and talk about it, but it's just something I want you to think about. As those properties increase in value and there's more equity there, of course, that also builds up your net worth as well. So you may eventually decide to sell. And of course, there's something in real estate called a 1031 exchange. So when you sell and you take those profits, and you have to read the rules about the 1031 exchange, and then go and reinvest those profits into another property just as good or better, where you can potentially make even more money. Now you're not paying taxes on that profit from that initial property. And so there's so many ways to continue to grow your real estate in that space. But once again, when it comes back to the holiday spending, if you have assets in place that pay you, you may just decide to use the profits from the assets to pay for the travel, to pay for the spending. And who knows, depending, like with real estate, you may decide to travel, go look at some real estate while seeing family. It might work for you on the taxes. See your CPA or your tax advisor when it comes to that. So remember to be strategic, be methodical, start investing. And one of the easiest places that you can start investing in an asset class, one of the most simplest things you can do to start making your money work for you. And of course, I know you all see my website down there at the bottom of the page, www.steelesfinanceacademy.com, www.steeles, Steeles, financeacademy.com. One thing you can do is go to that website, click on shop. And when you go to the shop, you are going to see a shirt. I have some shirts on there. They're amazing. It's called Make Money Multitask. And so if you're tuning in on YouTube and Facebook, you can see the shirt design. If you're on TikTok, I don't think you can see it. I don't know if I can turn my screen around. I would try, but I'd probably mess it up. But as you all are looking, go on my website, get you a t-shirt, Make Money Multitask. Thank you for patronizing me and supporting the movement when it comes to that. But one of the easiest things you all can do is not buy the t-shirt, but when it comes to investing in an asset class is get a high yield interest savings account. It is so simple. When it comes to a high yield interest savings account, if you're on YouTube, in my description box, you'll see the high yield interest savings account link there. All you have to do is click on the link, open up a high yield interest savings account. And the link that I give you, as soon as you open it up, it's going to say, Simon wants you to make like $325. What's that saying? Basically, once you open up the account, there's some ways to make some extra money. Not only are you going to make interest in that account, but also if you open up the account and within the first 14 days, if you put at least $50 in there, if the rule is still the same, they'll give you a free $25. Some people are going to ask you for some money during the holiday season, and all you have to do is send them a link to a high yield interest savings account, and they can get $25, or you will get $25, and maybe you give them your $25. However it works out, it's free money just for following those rules and open up the account as well. Some of you are looking at trying to figure out ways to build up your savings. Well, start small and work your way up. Take some of that free money. And so that is going to make your savings account, your emergency fund, get compound interest. If you have savings, emergency fund, money sitting to the side or under your mattress, put it in the high yield interest savings account once you set up the account so it can start making interest and making your money multitask and work for you. So that's something you can do. And then, of course, those of you who are trying to eliminate debt, get rid of consumer debt, which is personal loans, student loans, car notes, credit cards, car notes, all of that stuff. Why do I know it so quickly? Because I deal with it, teach it, and talk about it every day. I would recommend using the HELOC strategy. Go get a free assessment. If you need help or you need a link when it comes to that, let me know, and I will get you a link when it comes to that. And so, and point you in the right direction to get some help. The HELOC strategy, when you use that, it's one of the fastest ways to eliminate debt, your mortgage balance, and consumer debt as well. Being strategic with it, you have to know what you're doing. I wouldn't just advise someone to just jump into it and do it without knowing. Get you some coaching, get you some guidance. There's different HELOCs that you can get, and you don't want to get the wrong one. You want to be wise. You want to get it to the one that suits your financial situation, and being strategic of what would be consolidated, what wouldn't be consolidated, what's the equity in the house, and all these other good questions that comes along with it, learning the system, getting modules, getting training, and a good coach. If that's something you're interested in with learning the HELOC strategy and getting rid of your mortgage balance and other consumer debt, definitely leave a message. I'll get back to you there. as well. But once again, you all have done an awesome job on today, tuning in to Coach Steele's finance training. As we talked about a lot today, as we did this financial literacy check-in, some of you have shared your thoughts and your comments on the different platforms here. We've talked about interest rates, President Trump, Jerome Powell being removed May 2026. I see you. All right, Brian, take it easy. I see you on TikTok. Appreciate you tuning in. We talked about supply and demand in that real estate space, how it's affecting real estate investors, how it's affecting potentially real estate agents and people who want to buy houses or do refinances. We talked about cryptocurrency having a bounce back the past day or two. And we talked about holiday spending, high yield interest savings accounts, and the HELOC strategy. We covered a lot in a short amount of time. You all remember, I'm going live 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone on Saturday morning. We're going to turn up and talk about financial literacy. And so we should have an interesting topic. You all come prepared, ready to blow up those comment sections and participate. Until then, you all be blessed and happy holidays to everyone, and be safe on that road and be safe with your family members. Remember, it's okay to tell them no, and it's okay to look after one another and help somebody out during the holiday seasons. Be blessed.